What's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and I'm going to be doing a dice roll deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this for you guys because this deck just got some amazing support out of Crystal Revenge, giving us two awesome new support cards, Dice Dungeon and Dimension Dice, which really helps out the deck a lot. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards, like getting your name description every single video, getting a signed cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month you're a patron. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing two copies of Orgoth the Relentless, which is an awesome boss monster, and it's just super cool that they actually made Orgoth the Relentless into a monster card, because this card was actually Duke Devlin's ace card, or ace dice, when he was playing dungeon dice monsters. But this card has a really good effect that once per turn during your main phase, you roll a 6-sided dice 3 times, and then this card gains attack and events equal times the roll of 100, which is really cool. So for example, if you roll 3 5s, this card actually gains 1,500 attack points, which is really cool, until the end of your opponent's turn. Then, if you have 2 results that are the same, you apply the appropriate effect, but if all 3 were the same, you apply all of the effects. If you roll a 1 or a 2, this card cannot be destroyed by battle or by card effects until the end of your opponent's turn. If you roll a 3 or a 4, you draw 2 cards, which is crazy powerful, and if you roll a 5 or a 6, this card can attack directly this turn, which is a really powerful effect for this card to have, to just be able to attack directly and gain those attack points, and comboed with your copy of Dice Dungeon, this card can get huge to be able to just go in for game. We then play 3 copies of Dark Master Zork. Dark Master Zork is a really awesome boss monster as well that's super easy to summon to your side of the field, and has a really good effect that during your turn you can roll 1 6-sided dice, and if the result is a 1 or a 2, destroy all monsters on your opponent's side of the field. If the result is a 3, 4, or 5, you destroy 1 monster on your opponent's side of the field, and the result is a 6, you destroy all monsters on your side of the field, which is a little bit of a downside, but it kind of comes with playing a dice roll deck. But this card is super good if you roll that 1 or 2, because you're going to board wipe your opponent's monsters and go in for game. We then play 3 copies of Manju of the 10,000 Hands. This card is a really good normal summon to be able to search out your ritual monsters or your ritual spells, so you can start with your plays with Dark Master Zork. I then play 3 copies of Incantation Talismandra. This card is a really good 3 of in the deck to be able to search out your ritual monsters, but also be able to search out your ritual spells, because it has a really good effect to reveal a ritual monster in your hand, to special summon both this card from your hand and an incantation monster from your deck, except another copy of this card. And if this card is special summoned from the deck, you get to add a ritual monster from your deck to your hand, and you can only use 1 effect of this card per turn, and while this card's on the field, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck, which all of your incantation monsters actually share that effect. We then play 3 copies of Incantation Kandal. Kandal is a really good 3 of, and it's just really good that it has the exact same effect as your copy of Talismandra, but this card searches out ritual spells when it's summoned. So if you have your copy of your Talismandra in the hand, you can reveal it in a ritual monster to be able to summon out your copy of Kandal to be able to search out a ritual spell. And if you have your copy of Kandal, you can reveal a ritual spell in your hand and special summon out it and a copy of Talismandra to be able to search out a ritual monster, which is just super good for the deck and makes the deck really consistent. We then play a single copy of Pencil Plume. Pencil Plume is a really good 1 in the deck, but you only really need a single copy of this card. This card is like your copy of Talismandra that you reveal a ritual monster in your hand, but it has the ability, if this card is special summoned from the deck, you get to target a ritual monster in the graveyard and add it to your hand, which is a great effect to be able to recover your copy of Dark Master Zork. We then play a single copy of Bookstone. Bookstone is just like your copy of your Kandal, but it lets you grab a ritual spell from the graveyard and add it to your hand instead of adding it from deck to hand. We then play 2 copies of a super old school card, and it's just super cool to be able to play it in this deck, and that's going to be 2 copies of Snipe Hunter. Snipe Hunter is actually a dice roll card, and it's just super cool to be able to play this card in the deck, because you discard a card from your hand, and then you select 1 card on the field, roll a 6-sided dice, and if the result is not a 1 or a 6, you destroy the selected card, which is a super good effect to be able to pop a card, and it's not even a once per turn. So you can activate that effect multiple times to be able to pop multiple cards on the field, which is really cool. We then play 2 copies of Dice Jar. Dice Jar is insanely fun to be able to play in the deck because it has the ability that you flip this card. Both players roll a 6-sided dice once, and the player with the lowest roll takes damage equal to their opponent's roll times 500, which is super good. However, if the winner's result is a 6, the loser takes 6,000 points of damage, which is crazy amount of damage that this card actually inflicts to the opponent or to you, depending on what the roll is. And if the results are the same, both players roll again, which is really fun. We then play a single copy of Tri-Horn Dragon. Yes, we are playing a single copy of Tri-Horn Dragon in the deck. You can play any level 8 that you want in this position that's a vanilla monster, but I had a Tri-Horn Dragon, so I wanted to play it. I figured it was cool style points for this deck, and it's really cool because you can use it with your copy of Advanced Ritual Art to be able to summon out your copy of Dark Master Zork because it is a level 8, which is really cool. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing 3 copies of our new field spell, Dice Dungeon, which is actually the Field of Dungeon Dice monster, which is just super cool that they made this into a card, but it has the ability that when this card is activated, you could add a Dimension Dice from your deck to your hand. And at the start of the battle phase, you can activate this effect that each player rolls a 6-sided dice and then applies the result to all monsters that they control until the end of the turn. If you roll a 1, all your monsters lose 1,000 attack. If you roll a 2, they gain 1,000 attack. If you roll a 3, they lose 500 attack. If you roll a 4, they gain 500 attack. If you roll a 5, you halve their attack, but if you roll a 6, you double the attack, which is insane to combo with your copy of Orgoth, because if you roll to have the effect to be able to attack directly, and you double the attack of Orgoth, you can pretty much attack with Orgoth for a game, which is really cool. We then play 3 copies of Dimension Dice. Dimension Dice is super cool. I love this card, and it's really awesome that it actually shows Orgoth being summoned. But this card has the ability, if you control a card with an effect that involves a dice roll, you can treat a monster to special summon a monster with an effect that requires a dice roll from your hand or deck, which is your copy of Orgoth that you're going to be summoning off this card, but just tributing any of your incantation monsters, usually when you have like a snipe hunter on your side of the field, which is really cool. We then play 2 copies of Advanced Ritual Art. Advanced Ritual Art is a really good ritual spell in this deck that lets you ritual summon by sending Tri-Horn Dragon from your deck to the graveyard to summon out your copy of Dark Master Zork. We then play 3 copies of Contract with the Dark Master. This is just the ritual spell to summon out your copy of Dark Master Zork, and it's a really good 3 in the deck to be able to search out with any of your incantation monsters that can search it. We then play 3 copies of Pre-Preparation of Rites. Pre-Preparation of Rites will actually search out your copy of Contract with the Dark Master and Dark Master Zork, which is why we play them at 3 each, and this card is just really good in the deck because it's a +1. We then play 3 copies of Diced Dice. Diced Dice is actually kind of sort of the Rhoda of the deck because it has the ability to roll a 6-sided dice, and if you roll a 1 or a 6, you get to add 1 card from your deck to your hand that requires a dice roll, and if you roll a number other than a 1 or 6, you roll again and then apply the appropriate effect. If you roll a 1 or a 6 again, you bounce this card back to the hand, but if you roll a 2, 3, 4, or 5, you place this card on top of your deck, which is a big downside, but being able to search any of our dice roll cards is really good because you can search out cards like Dice Dungeon. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're just going to be playing 3 traps in the deck, and that is going to be 3 copies of That 6. That 6 is super good in this deck, and is just really good because it can actually fix our dice rolls. Because each time a player rolls a dice or dice, you can choose one of the results and apply the appropriate effect based on the result. If you roll a 1, 3, or 5, the result is treated as a 6. And if you roll a 2, 4, or 6, the result is treated as a 1, which is really good to be able to fix your dice rolls in this deck, because a lot of times you do actually want to roll like a 6 or a 1 in this deck. So it's really good to be able to use in this deck to be able to fix your dice rolls with this card, and it's a fantastic card to be able to activate. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing a single copy of number 85, Crazy Box. This card is actually crazy. It's super fun because this card has a really good effect that this card cannot attack. And once per turn, you can detach a material from this card and roll a 6-sided dice and then apply the effect. If you roll a 1, you half your life points. If you roll a 2, you draw a card. If you roll a 3, your opponent discards a card. If you roll a 4, you negate the effects of one face-up card on the field into the end phase of the turn. If you roll a 5, you destroy one card on the field. And if you roll a 6, you destroy this card. That's really fun to be able to do. You don't want to roll a 1 and you don't want to roll a 6. You want to roll any of those other numbers, but this card is still really fun to be able to play. We then play a single copy of number 60. This card is super good in the deck to be able to draw 2, discard 1, bring back a monster from the graveyard, or even double the attack of a card like Orgoth to help you go in for game. I'm playing a single copy of Dingirsu because we can make this card to be able to send a card from the field to the graveyard, which is really nice. One copy of number 97. This card is super good to be able to make either number 38, which is a spell negate, or number 100, which will come out at 9,000 attack points, which is super good to be able to make this card. You will have to use 2 copies of your Dark Master Zork to make the copy of number 97, but it does lead you into a copy of your number 100, which is super good. We then play a single copy of Double A Zeus. Double A Zeus is insanely powerful in this deck to be able to just board wipe the field. This card is a definite one-of in the deck to be able to just board wipe the field because we play so many XZs. We then play a single copy of Boral Sword to help us go in for game. We can make this card so it's a really good one-of in the deck. Play a single copy of Access Code Talker because we can pop multiple cards on the field with this card, so it's a definite one-of in this deck. One copy of Blackluster Soldier, Soldier of Chaos, because we do play high-level monsters in the deck, and it's just a really cool nostalgic boss monster to be able to make in this deck. And if it destroys a monster of battle, you can pick one of the 3 effects that either it gains 1500 attack, it make a second attack during this battle phase, where it has the ability to make a second attack during the battle phase of your next turn, or you can banish a card on the field that doesn't target. Usually you're using the effect to banish a card on the field non-targeting, which is why you're going to be using that effect all the time because it doesn't target. We then play a single copy of Unicorn to spin stuff, Phoenix to pop spells and traps, Cerberus to pop monsters. These are just really good in the deck overall to be able to pop cards, spin cards, and just be able to deal with cards that your opponent has. One copy of IP Masquerena because you can make your copy of Unicorn during the opponent's turn to be able to spin cards. And then finally, a single copy of Cross Sheep. Cross Sheep is so good in this deck because we do Ritual Summon, and as the ability you do Ritual Summon, you get to draw 2 and then discard 2, which will help you fix your hand. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. This deck is super fun to be able to play. If you guys have never played a dice roll deck, I highly recommend it because this deck is actually insane to be able to play because you never know what the outcome when you play this deck is going to be, but you know it's going to be a good time. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, and there soon come part of notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.